I'm raising the alarm. Have you seen Trump's immigration plan for 2025? You're going to want to see this. If he wins the election, mass deportations, he's aiming to deport 15 to 20 million undocumented immigrants. Of course, the statistics are less, around 11 million undocumented immigrants, but his goal is to have mass deportations by the millions each year. He's also looking to end birthright citizenship. That means if a child is born to an undocumented immigrant, they themselves will not be a citizen. He said that he's going to issue a revocation of birthright citizenship through an executive order. In addition to that, they're looking to deny visas based on ideological viewpoints. Also looking to implement or re-implement family separations, Muslim ban, which was implemented a few years back during the last Trump administration, and also to limit asylum based on the Remain in Mexico policy. According to his plan, from day one, he is going to be using federal funds to recruit local law enforcement. In addition to that, deputizing the National Guard to make arrests and apprehend undocumented immigrants, meaning to go into communities and separating them from their families. The next question here is, could he really do this? Based on his past actions, I can say that Trump has no respect for what is in place in the Constitution or what is even written in law. He is very much capable of taking these actions again. Could he succeed even though he's tried to do this? Let's talk about that. Well, let's look back. Back in 2016, when he won the election, he surely took proactive action. He was very proactive with implementing these kinds of immigration policies. For one, do you remember the family separation scandal? Do you remember the Muslim ban? Do you remember the Title 42, where they could remove undocumented immigrants and children, including unaccompanied minors who came to the country based on public health concerns? Do you remember the massive delays in immigration, which we are experiencing up to this point because of the tactics that were put in place to excessively vet applications, preventing family unification? All of these measures that he took did face legal battles, and many of them were struck down, but it did not stop him from trying and causing massive delays and massive interruptions in the immigration process, not to mention traumatizing families with the family separation policies. Can he do it again? It's absolutely possible that he could do it again. In the process, yes, he could face legal battles and lose those legal battles, but in the process cause tremendous damages to individuals and families, as well as our communities and the economy, as he spreads fear and disrupts the lives of people as they go through their day-to-day lives in the communities. Now, Trump has said that he would use the military, such as the National Guard and local law enforcement, to apprehend all undocumented immigrants in communities, to seek them out, and then to put them in mass camps for expedited deportation. What does that mean? Can he do that? Now, there has been established a law out there that prevents the military from being used against civilians. But keep in mind that Trump has defended this policy by saying that the military would not be going against civilians, but be going against people who are not from the United States, and so justifying his actions against them. So taking such actions would be met by legal battles. And in many cases, I could only anticipate that it would be struck down. But this does not prevent the government from implementing their own authority to detain undocumented immigrants and put them through the process. This would undoubtedly cause severe backlog and overwhelm law enforcement as well as the court system if his goal is to deport millions of immigrants at a time. However, we have seen him take these erratic actions regardless of what the effect is on the overburdened immigration system. So sending out the National Guard along with local law enforcement would also create mass confusion. I'm pretty sure that even US citizens and legal immigrants would be caught up in this mess and potentially detained and deported. So the optics would not be great. It would destabilize not only immigrant communities, but also US citizens. And remember that families, there are mixed families with US citizens and with undocumented immigrants. Speaking of destabilization also means that such an action of sending out a National Guard and local law enforcement to go into communities and to raid households with undocumented immigrants would cause separation of families and complete chaos and panic among the communities. This would surely backfire on Trump as well as his supporters. Once again, do you remember the family separation policy turned scandal? It would surely cause detriment to the economy, if not a collapse. There are millions of undocumented immigrants that are here. And contrary to what he has said about undocumented immigrants being criminals, that is not the case. A majority of undocumented immigrants are here supporting our economy and filling a void in the labor market, especially where there's a labor shortage. So going into communities and going into employers and doing mass raids looking for undocumented immigrants would not only terrorize immigrants, it would definitely destabilize the labor industry and the economy as a result, because immigrants would be terrorized. Immigrants would then go into the shadows to hide instead of going out there into the workforce and assisting in the labor force. So seeing that we'll have all these effects, it's hard to believe that somebody could take such actions, such drastic actions. However, we have seen this before. As a US immigration attorney, I practiced during the Trump administration and I've practiced during this current administration. There is a vast difference between the two administrations. However, we are seeing a terrible effect of what Trump did to the current immigration system. Even immigrants who are going through the process legally are affected by the massive delays that happen as a result of the Trump administration. And this in itself causes families to remain separated, causes families to remain to be destabilized because they have relatives that can't get their papers within a timely manner. And we have seen him do damage regardless of the effects. So you can count on it that he will be doing this again. So this is what I am urging you to do. Make sure if you're in a position where you don't have your papers, that you definitely talk to me. Let's talk about potential options for you. That's exactly what I do here. And for those of you who have the power to participate in the voting process, US citizens, if you have immigrant friends, you have immigrant employees, you have immigrant family members, you definitely know what's at stake here. Participate in the voting process to prevent this from happening again, because not only will it happen again, where we will have immigration that's drastically limited, we'll have undocumented immigrants who are fearful, but it's going to be much worse in this case. And we will see a system like no other.